Thank you, Amanda, for being here today with Nifty Campus. You joined Nifty Campus a few months ago, and we've been talking ever since about doing a podcast about your experience. And I wanted you to start off by explaining to the audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Amanda Marie. And yeah, I was thinking about it actually earlier today. I think it's been about 6 or 7 months since I joined Nifty. I am an entrepreneur. I come from an entrepreneur background, and I'm a mother to two young children who are 5 and 7. And I hope that this, little podcast helps with anyone who's either considering taking, a course like through Nifty or is new to Nifty. And just I wanted to talk about my experiences a little bit with how things have gone since I took the course.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. So when did you begin your entrepreneurial journey, and how have you overcome some of the hurdles that come with that, especially being a single mom and just navigating that journey all on its own?
Yes. So I've been working as an entrepreneur really since I graduated art school. My father and my grandfather are both entrepreneurs and business owners. So when I was young, it was always kind of implemented to me that I didn't need to necessarily have like a typical office job. When I decided to start my own business, I had a lot of support from my family, and my dad had a very successful business up until a couple of years ago when he decided to retire. My grandfather owned a barber shop. He'd come over from Yugoslavia, which is now Croatia at the time, with my grandmother and my father. And I just always grew up with kind of like working to make cash in hand to buy the toys that I wanted or the candy that I wanted. And, if I didn't have means of doing that, then, like I would help with chores around the house and that sort of thing. When I decided to have my own business, I struggled at first. I think like anybody else would. I did have jobs as bartending, waitressing, worked in retail shops. But once I started to establish some clientele and get going, that is my puppy in background.
It's okay.
Then I kind of started to find some stride. And I can say after doing it maybe for a few years, I started to work as much as I could. And I can't say that that was the best thing, but at that point, I established some clientele, and I equated success with the amount of money that I was making. So the more work I could do, the more money I was making. Then, of course, in my mind, I was more successful the more I worked. I was in kind of this vicious cycle for a while of burnout. I was just working to the point where I was running into adrenal fatigue, and I was drinking a lot of alcohol, and I wasn't eating very good food, and I wasn't getting proper sleep. And I would probably say in my late 20s, I almost kind of hit a wall with my health, but also I experienced some personal loss, and then huge financial load that I had to some debt that I had to overcome. So my mindset towards money shifted greatly in that time. And that's probably around the time that I started to become interested in other means of income, or just even in investing and taking a hold of my finances a little bit better.
Yeah, it sounds like at that point in time, you had kind of no choice but to make a change. Otherwise, things
100%.
were going in a direction that probably you wouldn't be where you are today had you not made that change.
100%. Yeah. I had a huge debt load, and I was able to climb out of that. And then once I got out of that, my goal was to work towards having enough money to, purchase a home and really kind of get my finances on track. So I do want to say that I didn't have a lot of education in finance. And that's something that I just decided to do on my own, to undertake, like start reading books, take a business course, and just, understand what was happening to my money when it was going into the bank. Everything from like fees on bank accounts to establishing RRSP, what that meant, also how, my interest in the stock market at that point, how I could enter into that and educate myself so that I wouldn't start making some good decisions from the beginning.
Right. One of the things we teach in the core program in Nifty Campus is how fees, interest, and taxes are the number one wealth destroyer. And if you don't understand those and you don't get a grip of them, you're just always going to be living in a vision of grandeur. You're always just going to be hoping for the best and thinking things are going to come and it'll work its way out. But if you don't put the work in, you don't put the time, and you don't first recognize some of your limiting beliefs and your walls that you've created for yourself,
Yeah.
it's going to be very difficult. So it's really nice to see that you were able to just have some self-reflection and make sound choices that clearly you've come a long way since then, right? So that's amazing to hear. Thank you for sharing, by the way. It's not always easy to express those things, but it's important for people to see that even people who are successful, individuals who are successful and have figured it out now, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that they there's a journey that behind there, right? And there's failure behind that too. And I have a ton of failure in my life too, and it's kind of what's gotten me to where I am today as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it would have been great to have Nifty when I was that age, but also it is like all part of my story that I don't think I would, I really do view, money as a tool.
Yeah.
And once you learn how to use that tool and use it towards your, working towards goals and, what it actually means to you, what your relationship is like with money and your mindset behind money, that's a huge part of educating yourself and not being worried about, what's happening either in the world or with your own money or, bills that are coming in, just to live within your means. And that was something that was really put forward to me when I was young, was to not step outside that. Don't live outside your means, and not to run up credit, and to really kind of pay attention to how much you're bringing in, but also just like, I've never made a lot of money, but I
Right.
learned how to be really smart with the money that I have. And that has been so important to get me where I am today. So yeah.
No, yeah. Well,
Were you
that's
gonna say
great.
something?
And
Yeah.
well, I was gonna say just a little like analogy that I like to use sometimes is like a guy can make $1 million in a year, but he can spend a million point two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone can make $50,000 in a year and spend 40. That person is much further ahead than the person who made a million and spent 1.2.
Yeah.
So the biggest mistake that we've done, I believe, in education and just through generational pass down is to say that go get some credit. It'll help you in the future. Go get
Mhm.
credit, go get credit. Have you ever tried walking into the bank with great assets? They'll take you much more seriously than someone that's just trying to build credit,
Yeah.
right? So it's just in a whole different world. But if your parents or if yourself haven't built wealth building assets before and know what that's like and living off of those assets through passive income, you have to see it for yourself in order to experience that and know that it's not some mystical creature in the distance. It's not some fake little thing going on. It's an
Mhm.
actual wealth building cool tool, either through real estate or through stocks or crypto now, that the crypto movement has really taken on, and in the United States has legitimized it, which I know that you're a fan of. Um, so what was the first stock you ever bought? Do you remember? Do you know
Uh,
that journey?
yes, I do know the journey. It was a biotech stock. I didn't know too much when I first got into the stock market. It was probably around like 2012, and I had a girlfriend. We're still very very close, and she does do investing as well. But I didn't have a whole lot of people around me that I could talk to about this sort of thing. It was something that really I became kind of interested in on my own, and I was poking around and reading articles and trying to familiarize myself a little bit with entering something like the stock market. I had a lot of my family were very apprehensive about me doing that,
Right.
and just even talking about kind of an old school mentality of like, you have cash in hand, okay, now you can buy something, or you have cash in hand, okay, put it in the bank, or put it in your sock drawer or something. I didn't most of the members of my family, they weren't involved with any kind of investing that way, passive income and the stock market, it was like, okay, you save money, you buy a house, and that's it, you pay your house off. So one of the first stocks that I ever bought, if I can remember it, it was a long time ago, but I had put just like $1,000 in, and I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was following this stock because I was just learning about candlesticks and the algorithms, and I was so fresh, and I put money at when this stock dropped, and it hit a bottom, and I bought it, and it went up about 80%. And
Wow.
we were talking last night a little bit about emotion. So my emotion was like, wow, like that's incredible. I just,
Right.
wow, look at that easy money,
Mhm.
and then, fast forward a little bit of time. It's like, I did take profit on that, but then I've had, decisions that I've made where and like one of the worst things I ever did was take advice of somebody else saying, here's a good stock tip, put your money here. And I put money in and I lost all of it. And so there's so many things kind of to be said of a learning curve and making mistakes and understanding that, you can educate yourself to a certain point. You can get lucky. You can be watching algorithm and watching candlestick patterns and making decisions based on that. But in the end, anything can happen. And I am so green. So I know that I am still learning a lot, compared to, some of the people that I talk to and that I'm, choosing to, just like even share, my knowledge with. So Nifty, I chose to take the Nifty course because I didn't know anything about crypto, and having some knowledge of the stock market, I just wanted to understand. I didn't want to be ignorant because I know that it is something that is unavoidable, that it's going to start to be a lot more integrated into our like, global commerce. So
Our
yeah,
everyday life. Yeah.
yeah, and everyday life. Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. And what are some of the things you used to do before Nifty that you don't do anymore after you've gotten the course when it comes to looking at assets and deciding on certain assets?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, because I was so new, one of the things was because I didn't understand anything about crypto. I think a lot of people still don't think that, they consider it kind of like a joke, that it's not, it's not real money, and that you're going to lose all your money if you go into it. So I would say that one of the takeaways that I had was just, understanding that I was wrong about a lot of things that I thought about the crypto world. So I would say that that was like sort of the biggest that changed for me was just understanding how to navigate myself inside crypto, because I wasn't part of it at all. So,
Right.
mhm.
I I know you're active in the community, and I love getting some of your
Mm.
messages here and there being like, "Oh, I should have gotten this one. I knew it was the right
Oh, right,
time."
right.
And you're
Yeah.
looking at the candles and
Yeah,
you're not chasing, euphoria, and you're
sure.
looking for good entry points and things like that. So that's all that really Nifty Campus can do for individuals is like, we're not financial advisors. We're not going to be telling
Mhm.
you to buy stocks and what stocks to buy and all that. We're going to coach you on why it's important to invest, coach you on how to self-direct your own accounts and buy stocks in your
Mhm.
TFSA on your own, and how to buy crypto and keep it safe in your own private keys. Right?
Yeah.
So um,
Just one sec, Joel, hold on.
no problem, no problem. We have Bodhi as a guest.
My guard dog, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I 100% agree that, just as far as like having that be, it was like, is my introduction. And then I do know, I think it's in the plans just to keep developing, the program in Nifty so that I can continue to educate myself and kind of get past sort of like, level one, level two,
yeah,
and, yeah, accumulate experience. I mean, it's only been about 6 months, so it's been, an eye opener. Also to not get greedy. That's the other thing too. That when I first started trading, I think in the very beginnings, you're making decisions just expecting to make money,
right.
versus making moves to gain experience, whether or not you're gonna lose or
Well,
lose money or make money. But
yeah, there's something to be said that you know, s- wasting $10,000 on a college or university course you're never going to use, or
mm,
going to waste it on the stock market and learning all of the
yeah,
emotions and the lessons learned from that. Uh, I think stock market, you're going to learn a lot more life skills and figure out what not to do in the next time you throw another 10 grand at it.
mhm,
I have a similar journey as your own. Like, I've gotten lucky in the beginning, not knowing what I'm doing, and then uh, made some terrible mistakes after that, and then had to like be like, hey, I can't do it like this anymore. I have to learn this thing, and
mhm,
I fell in love with it to the point where I realized the lack of education, and I've been an educator pretty much my entire adult life. Um, so for me, it was just good opportunity, and I found passion in it, right? And I love blockchain technology. I love what it can bring to a family business, a young entrepreneur, countries that want to take control of their currency again and not rely on, say, U.S. currency or other currencies in their area and things like this, right? So like
Hmm.
all of those things make sense for me, right? And as I got down that journey, I realized that how are people going to invest their money when they don't have money to invest because they're paying all of their money back to the banks because of all of the debt and the interest that they've incurred.
Hmm.
So that's when my wife and I and my business partner at the same time, we sat down and we're like, okay, we need to develop some modules that teach people financial terms and literacy, and then from there help them with their budget, and then from there help them get out of debt, and then save, invest, right? And then don't get ahead of yourself, because if you're swimming in debt, you're really not investing your money, you're investing money that's owed to someone else.
Sure.
So it's nice to see that Nifty is evolving from just being a crypto consulting campus to now being a full core program with crypto consulting and so on and so forth. So for individuals who just want to focus on crypto, we can sit down and work together and coach you through your journey. And same with stocks and your TFSA and so on and so forth. So it's nice to see that there are individuals like yourself and entrepreneurs and women that are taking these steps on their own. And it's always taking that first step. It's recognizing that I want more, I want to do more, I want to make my money go further, I want my kids to be able to see the world and do more than just what's happening right here,
Hmm.
right? So um, one of my questions for you is what has been your biggest what would be a piece of advice that you would give new individuals getting into investing in stocks and crypto to handle the psychology of that, and to not get into the FOMO and to the emotion? What would be some tips and some advice you would give to someone who's seeing this for the first time and has never even opened up their TFSA yet, or has a TFSA and doesn't realize that you actually buy stocks in there? It's not where you put money to save.
Right.
So yeah.
I think I would want to know why they want to get involved, why they want to start trading, why they want to get into, into the markets, whether or not it's crypto. I think that the your mindset about money is extremely important, and I think a lot of people, whether or not they have more of a scarcity or abundance mindset, it can greatly affect your outcome. You can get into learning about finances and still be terrible with money. You can,
Yeah.
you can have a lot of money that has, come easily to you and be terrible with money. And
Mhm.
I think that the mindset, your relationship with money, on average, I would say if I asked the majority of the people that I associate with what their relationship was like with money, I think to a certain extent, a lot of people just wish they had more of it because they're either so far in debt or it's improperly managed. And I just think that, especially with, a lot of the other mothers, other female entrepreneurs that I talk to, their goal in the end is to really take care of their families and to make sure that their children are okay and that they're taken care of. And it can be really intimidating as a woman to enter into a world like that and not really know anything and know, the first step to take on educating yourself. Most people just put so much confidence in their bank and don't really understand the dynamics of it and what these people at the bank are doing with your investments and how to properly manage your own money to a certain extent. But
I get so anxious just thinking about someone managing my money at a bank in
right.
2024. I've gone into bank and asked some simple financial questions, and I've gotten looked at like a deer in the headlights.
Hmm. Hmm.
And not naming names or anything, but I have a family member who's a manager of a branch, a big branch of a big six bank in Canada. And I've sat down at dinner tables, and this individual has no idea what's the stock market is all about.
Right.
So that worries me big time, right? So just because you're going into a building and it's got a nice big fancy sign there doesn't mean
Yeah.
that they have your best interest, right? If a bank had your best interest at heart, they wouldn't charge you a house to buy a house, which is exactly what happens when you go into a 4% or a 5% interest rate over 30 years on a house.
Mhm.
You're paying double for your home.
Right.
So it's clear that the bank doesn't want you to be educated and they want you to use their services. And the moment you understand that and can develop a plan through proper coaching and education on how to be your own bank and how to run your own investments, that's when I believe that life gets, you just go on a different path now, and you're not as stressed anymore. And you're like, okay, I know that there's a tool there, always a wealth building tool, no matter what. Even if I make mistakes, that tool is still there no matter what, for me to not make that same mistake again.
Yes. Oh,
Right.
and I would also say that, for entering into investing and learning how to do that, to not seek it out as a means of paying off your debt.
Right.
So that it's much, much more important to get a handle on either like eliminating your debt or just restructuring your finances so that you're not constantly worrying about how you're going to pay for things. So I think that was an important thing for me, is that it was money that I could afford to lose, and I couldn't have too much attachment. So I started with a very, very small amount when I first started learning, because
Right.
I was working a job where I was paying my bills and I was trying to pay down debt, but I was not looking at getting into investing as a way to pay off my debt, if that makes sense. I wanted a healthier relationship with money before I started getting involved with the stock market.
Okay. So you've mentioned debt a few times. What were some of the tools and the systems you used to get out of debt as fast as you could? What were some of the changes you had to make?
Yeah,
In
sure.
Nifty Campus, we have a whole module on debt
Mhm.
management,
Yeah,
and
which is
we
excellent. Yeah.
yeah, and we teach like the snowball method. We teach the avalanche method, and there's different methods that you can do, and everyone's different on how psychologically they feel like they're getting a win and getting ahead.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
whether that's taking your largest amounts and getting rid of those first, or your smallest amounts and getting small wins, or
mhm.
taking your highest interest payments and getting rid of those first, so on and so forth, right? So like there's so many different ways that you can manage and get rid of your debt. What were some of the ones that you chose?
I think sort of like frivolous like expenditures, like just something so simple, like going out for dinner and ordering drinks. It sounds so simple, but I was living in the city at the time, and it was things like, where can I walk instead of taking public transit? Where can I walk instead of driving? Can I share a ride with someone? I'm not going to get lunch every day at work from outside the studio. I'm going to bring lunch with me. It started very like with very simple things that I was cutting out. But I mean, sometimes something like $50 a week at that time for me, if I was saving $50 a week, that was huge. And
Yep.
then it was like, okay, well, now I know how to save $100 a week. And then, okay, well, now I'm my credit card's paid off because I'm just doing this slowly. I'm not getting overwhelmed, and kind of just taking it like day by day, but also understanding that, again, if I didn't have cash in hand for something, then it's like, well, I'm not going to use my debit card and I don't need to use my credit card. And, you know, slowly working to just kind of like live like a healthier lifestyle financially, so just, and time management as well, just like, making sure I had enough time. Like, do I have time to walk to work? Okay, well, what am I doing when I'm taking that time, thinking about, other ways that I can live a healthier lifestyle, not just financially, but
Hmm.
in other ways as well. Yeah.
I think that I think financial freedom starts with living under your means. It has to start there. Like you cannot go further ahead if you're bringing in $5,000 and spending $6,000. But if you're
Mhm.
bringing in $5,000 and spending $4,000, you're gonna get ahead. You're gonna pay your debt off. You're gonna have no debt if you don't have any to begin with, and then you're just gonna have money to put into a 3 to 6 months emergency fund, which is 6 months of living expenses,
Right.
which is something that we teach in our mod one. And from there, after that, $1,000 emergency fund, 6 months of living expenses,
Hmm.
stop saving after that. After that, it's investing, right?
Mhm.
So what what was the step that you took? What was the aha moment for you of like, okay, now I need to go and invest? What was that moment like? And looking back on it now, would you change anything?
Um, Looking back on it, I wouldn't change anything. My aha moment really came when I had paid off my debt.
Right.
So when I had paid off my debt, my goal after that for I'm trying to think, I think it was about 2 years. 2 years that my goal was paying down this large chunk of debt that I had because I could only see myself accumulating more debt. So I had to just make changes, and I was in my late 20s. So a lot of people at that time, I think it's a difficult choice to make when you're like, no, I'm not going to go out partying. I have to really kind of get a handle on things, or like it's going to get really bad. So after paying off my debt, I set a goal. So I set a goal for myself that I was going to um, learn how to invest my money, and my goal was to save for a down payment on a house. And I did it. So that was
Wow.
my goal. My goal was like, okay, well, what's the best thing I can do right now? I had my grandfather, it was like, buy a house as soon as you can. I said, okay, how do
Good
I do
advice.
that? You
Yep.
need this much money. Okay, how do I do that? And what are my options? How can I do this? I can continue to work as much as possible. Yes, that's not necessarily the healthiest thing, to run
No.
into burnout again. So instead of doing that, it was like, okay, well, what are other avenues for me to move my money and educate myself to grow that money exponentially, and have enough of a down payment to buy a house.
Which, from getting to know you a little bit from joining Nifty Campus,
Hmm.
I've got to know your journey a little bit, and you've done well in both real estate and uh, the stock market, right? So, where do you find, how do you balance being a mom, being a single woman, being an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
investing,
Yeah, no, it's
crypto,
wild.
right?
Yeah.
And it sounds, I understand it because I do it too. I'm a dad, I'm
Hmm.
a husband,
Hmm.
I'm an investor, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an
Yep.
educator. I get it. And to individuals who that sounds like it's a lot, for me it doesn't. For me it's simple. I can get all this done in a couple hours, everything we
Hmm.
just talked about, and I
Hmm.
can go golf 18 holes, and then I can hang out with my wife and play with my dogs, and even if my daughter wants to video game at night, then I can do that too.
Right.
So it's, I th- I'll let you answer, but like, yeah, how do you balance all of those things all at once?
Yeah. Well, it's not all at once. I think it's good time management. And also I put my family first and put my children first no matter what. So I continue to do that, and I continue to operate like, from a place of love and gratitude. And
Mhm.
uh it I just fully believe that, as long as I put those things first, and I know that no matter what, I'm going to be provided for and protected. And, I have a strong faith in God. So when you say that I've done really well, like, by no means do I have, like I said, like tons of money. I just try to be
No.
smart about it.
Well,
So feeling wealthy in the sense that, that I'm so grateful for what I have, that I've been blessed, and that I'm able to, you know, uh, go day to day without worrying or being stressed out about finances. That, to me, that's feeling very wealthy, that I've
yeah.
just gotten to a point where I am living within my means. And sure, I think, it's nice to be able to have a little extra sometimes to do the things we want to do, but just to understand that it's very important, yes, to have something saved for emergencies, in this day and age. And I'm thankful to be living in Canada, but, like, there are, everything from like inflation to like cost of living, when I was living in the city versus living in a small town, there's so many factors that can affect people's stress levels.
Hmm.
But I think that money is probably the number one stressor for most families.
Especially
Yeah.
post COVID,
Yeah.
inflation
Oh
going
yeah.
through the roof.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't even think that, I would say, and this isn't to insult anyone, but I would say that 50% or more of the viewers that would see this don't really understand what inflation really is. It's a word that they hear in the media or, at the dinner table sometimes, but they don't really understand what inflation means. And I'll just simplify it in like a really short sentence. It's, your money is getting smaller in value because the things that we buy and use every day are going up and up and up and up in value.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, you know, if you were saving $1,000 2 years ago and eggs were $1, and now you're buying eggs at $2 this year, your $1,000 is worth $500 because you're paying double in the things that you want to buy, right? So it's, in order to combat inflation, it's simply understanding how much percent is inflation going up every year, and how do I invest in things that go up more than that? And
Mhm.
that's literally how you combat that. So it's nice to see that you've chosen two industries that do this: real estate and stocks and crypto. And whether or not you believe in crypto, or it's this first time you're hearing about it, Bitcoin beats inflation by almost like 15 to 20% every year. So, and Bitcoin will grow at about a 15 to 25% annual rate of return for the next 15 to 20 years. So it's about educating yourself and understanding the assets that you're getting into that will beat these things and get you further ahead. So that you can, like you just said, wealth is not the amount of money in dollars and zeros you
Yeah.
have in your bank account. Wealth is the amount of time you can have spent doing the things you love
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
needing to think
Absolutely.
about money and how much it costs,
Right.
right? um, so what would be your 2-year goal now that you've gotten a little bit more education? You look at stocks and charts and things differently.
Mhm.
What's sort of your 2-year? I don't like to ask individuals
Sure.
5-year, 10-year plans,
Yeah.
because I don't think anyone's ever stuck to a 5-year plan. And I've started
Right.
businesses and stuff, and they've never gone out to a 5-year plan. So yeah, just like 2 years out, what do you? I know you've been adding to some great positions.
Mhm. Mhm.
What's some of your goals?
Yeah, some of my goals I think are to educate my children in finances. I don't think that you're really like too young to learn about money and how to
Oh
manage
no.
it. So that's a huge goal of mine. And then also, to be mortgage free would be wonderful, and be able to free up some more time. I am in the service industry, so I have seen it fluctuate through everything from the pandemic to the economy crashing a couple of times throughout my career. And so also to be in just in a place where you like that I have enough saved that I would be comfortable if something like that happened again. So it's going through something like the pandemic and experiencing what that meant, financially to some people and to myself, being a small business owner and essentially not being allowed to work through the pandemic for a good portion of it, just to be a little more prepared for something like that happening.
I like that you brought up
Yeah.
educating your kids. One of
Mhm.
the core principles of Nifty Campus is if you get a core program and you enroll for a core program as an adult, your kids just get free access to the same content, and they have access to the course just like you do, and you can
Mhm.
pass it down where they don't have to pay for it again.
Right.
So that's something that's really cool, and I can see in the future, as we grow and as we learn blockchain even further and the technology of it, it would be really cool to have those courses, those core programs on a blockchain, so then you can then physically pass your course to your kids, and then they have it and can plug
Right.
into our campus online and things like this, right? So
Yeah.
the world is definitely changing. I'm excited. My 2-year plan is simply to get Nifty Campus into more family homes, and kids
Mhm.
being scheduled for coaching calls to learn how to
Sure.
look at a chart, and build confidence building and leadership building and things like this,
Mhm.
right? So it takes time, and it's the hardest industry to ask people to say yes to you to, because it's about their money and their finances.
Yeah.
It's about building trust, uh, and then just staying consistent in what you're doing, and things like this, right? So I think consistency for me in a 2-year plan is what's important. And if you stay consistent to your plan will come to fruition, or it'll surpass what you ever thought it would. Right?
Yeah, but I have nothing but good things to say, like about Nifty and taking the course. I like you were saying before, I had some background education, but to have like an intro to the crypto market, and then also just to kind of refresh myself on just even like on my relationship with money and my relationship with like just learning new things every day about the markets and where I need to work on, just educating myself a little bit more. And
Well, like I said, I like seeing some of your morning texts in the community, or sometimes you'll send some to me and it'll be like, "Oh my God, did you see this stock just moved?" Or
Hmm.
this crypto. It just, it brings joy to my heart because it tells me that you're not afraid to think about money. You're not afraid to look for those risky opportunities and then formulate a plan on them and execute on them. And I
Hmm.
know you've done that recently on a few stocks. I'm not going to mention which stocks. I know that's up to
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
but um, it's really cool to see. And just knowing that we have members that are in the green, that are their portfolios are up, and from making sound choices, that's all we could really ask for.
Yeah, yeah. So that's it. So Nifty's definitely helped with making those choices, and then also recognizing, which moves to make to hold a little bit longer, which moves to just hold for shorter periods of time. And I think that's like kind of like a whole other discussion, probably on people's strategies and what they decide to do there. But there was a time where I took years off of being, active in the stock market, and I simply kept one or two long holds because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to have the time to allot to trading. So I just left it. I left certain long holds in confidence because of the type of companies they were, and that did end up being lucrative. But it was also having a bit of an education where it's like, okay, if somebody told you you're not going to have access to your whatever, to your trades for a year, what are you going to do? What's the are you going
That's
to
a
pull all your money
really,
out, or are you going
wow,
to drop it in that? Well, that's essentially like what I
that's a
did, because
good
I
one.
was inactive. I kept I won't say which app it was. I kept an app active so I could check in, but I also just took a bit of a breather and I focused on other things in my life,
I'm
for a
gonna
year,
write that
and
down.
kind of
I'm
came back
glad.
to it. But
Yeah, sorry,
yeah,
I'm gonna write that down. I'm glad you said that. If
yeah,
you could not look at your app positions for a whole year,
hmm,
how would you go about making your choices right now?
yeah, yeah,
It'd be a lot different, I think. It would for me. I'm gonna reflect on that.
right, yeah,
So kids in investing.
hmm,
Um, I am a firm believer that the moment your kid can speak, your kid can learn about money,
right,
and your child can start investing in assets that grow. And
sure,
because legally they can't do it under their own name until they're 18 years old and open up a TFSA and things like this,
hmm,
they can most certainly open up their own account under their parents as a custodial account.
yeah. 4 years
Right?
old. I had my first bank account at 4 years old.
Yep.
And, again, it was like, that was kind of like taking, some money from the piggy bank and understanding that I couldn't spend it all at the toy store, and that it
Perfect.
was good to keep a little bit and put it into a savings account. But, yeah, I've been with the same bank for 40 years. And it's like, it has really worked to my advantage to, like, to establish a relationship with them. Like, even though, I got started so young, but just understanding that it is important to have a healthy relationship with money. Although, like, I have had, I'm not going to lie, I've had a couple of, slips and slides along the way to really learn my lesson on, accumulating debt and getting out of debt, and then
Yes.
accumulating wealth and keeping wealth. So not losing wealth, keeping it and growing it. So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
keeping wealth is the hardest part. It means that you have to go and now hit sell on things and
sure.
taking profit on things that you were so passionate about, and then it's that psychology of, okay, I'm out of this position now.
Yeah,
This position can go to the moon, and I could be looking at it and be very upset because I would have missed out on all of this stuff, not thinking about all of the money you had just made from
sure.
making a great decision. Which
Yeah.
is why for me and my wife, we closed our Tesla positions just
Hmm.
recently,
Hmm.
because they were up so much. And it was left like, it was just like, okay, man, like, let's. I wanted her to experience what it's like taking some profit in those amounts of money, and on her own. She made her trade on her own. She used her own
Sure.
money, and that was really cool. Um, and now it's like, okay, what's the next move? Right. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, now I get to go dip into those nifty stocks that I've been posting in the
Right.
Discord about, all these great opportunities, but not, hey, go buy these. It's, hey, look at the chart
Yeah.
and look at where things are and look at what the revenue's coming in versus what they're bringing in profits and things like this. Right. So
Mhm.
now it's like, AMD,
Right.
do I go back into Unity? Do I, you know what I mean? So it's just like, wow, I got all, so I think it's just now getting so emotional, knowing things fluctuate,
Mhm.
and taking profit along the way. I think that's why I've been saying it a lot in the community recently is don't be greedy, take profits along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look at the other members' numbers. Some of us have a lot larger amounts put in, so our gains look
Yeah.
big, but our percentages are smaller than yours.
Right.
So if you're up 100%, but you're up $100, don't get upset with yourself. It just means that you're building your confidence to put more money into these assets that you believe in,
Mm-hmm.
right? So yeah, it's so important to remember the percentage gain. What's great for kids is that, you know, even before you open them up a custodial account and you start letting them YOLO some money on the stock market, um, there's great simulators and great paper traders, right? So why not sit down for half an hour after dinner or an hour after dinner and look at the stocks and how they performed from the day before,
Mm-hmm.
and go make a simulation trade together to see what's going to happen in a week from now.
Yeah.
And then you have your 4-year-old, your 5-year-old, your 7-year-old, your 12-year-old sitting at the dinner table a week from now, and you're pulling up your report and being like, okay, we would have made 10% this week, you know,
Yeah.
and what would we have done? Or, okay, our position's down 5% this week, and we have a little bit of money sitting here. Do we want to add to our position to lower our cost? Like, you have those conversations at the dinner table once a week. Your kids are millionaires when they're in high school, like in college, just from just making sound money decisions, right? and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
going out there at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and hustling for a little bit of dough. Get
Mm-hmm.
that dough, bring that money in and say, Mom, I got $5 from selling some lemonade. I want to go put it
Sure.
in my Bitcoin position. All right. Well, let's wait till you accumulate a little bit more so we don't pay high fees. So we're not paying $5
Right.
$5 in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But
but it is great that you mentioned that, and just I think kind of like normalize talking about money, you know, and not having it be a
yeah,
scary thing, and same like once you have money to not spend it all. But yeah, with my son, you know, he's 7, and I had mentioned to you that he was so intrigued when I had let him know that, you know, you can buy stock in Roblox, and he plays Roblox every day, and he's like, you know, well, what do you mean? And I bring it up and I show him the chart, and he's watching the fluctuations, and you know, it was kind of blowing his mind where he was like, wow, this is a real company. This is a real thing. And I said, yeah, you know, it is. And also there's all these other companies that are making things that help Roblox operate. And we kind of, you know, did a deep dive there. And I mean, like he's almost 8 years old, and for him to have that interest, and,
that's
you know, that
amazing.
he's messing around with trying to put a stock app on his iPad just so he can open up the Roblox and see kind of what's happened from last week to this week. And I'm asking him, you
See,
know,
so
getting close to,
yeah, so that's, you know, that's amazing. At like 7 years old, you're looking at the stock on the stock market of the game that you're playing, and you're like, okay,
sure.
I I,
Yeah, like I
I
said,
get it now. I know
it was blowing
why.
his mind a little bit.
Yeah, I know why the stock's going up. It's because Mom keeps buying me those $20 Roblox cards at
Right?
Walmart.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? But no, that's amazing. And um, they've done a service for me recently, and I've been able to pay them in Bitcoin, and which was really cool. And you know, and just in that experience, they're seeing their positions grow
Mhm.
since they've done the service. You know, and that's the example of, if you could take your paycheck in Bitcoin, would you start taking your paycheck in Bitcoin?
Right.
You know, and I asked that question to the Chief of Defense Staff of the Canadian Armed Forces.
Oh,
If
wow.
I
Yeah.
asked, oh yeah, I said, can I start getting my pay in Bitcoin, sir?
Yeah.
You know, because I like that 22% disc or a bonus every
Right.
year on my money, and it
Yeah.
compounds for me too because I don't sell it, and it just continues the train, right? So that's why I wanted to pay them in Bitcoin, and I wanted them to experience that, and for them to have a little bit and look back on it, say when they're in high school or looking for their first car. What if that service pays for their car 20 years from now? You know, like
Yeah.
that would be cool, right? And
Yeah.
any service they do for me in the future, whether it's for Nifty Campus if they ever want to, or anything else, I'll pay them in Bitcoin, right? So
Yeah. Well, I definitely see Nifty doing great things. So
well, I appreciate that. Well,
yeah.
thank you. I'm going to ask you one last question before we go.
Okay.
I know you've already kind of answered it, but I like to answer it at the end. Define wealth for me in a few words, as few little words as you can. What is wealth for you? And success and wealth put together.
Success and wealth. Oh, I mean, you know, it sounds like a simple thing to answer, but you know, to me, like being wealthy is just um, feeling healthy, that you have a healthy relationship about, the areas of your life, everything from finance to, your family, to your own self-care, that you are, you are well and healthy, you are wealthy. It's not just about money. You
Yep.
could have all the money and you could have poor health. You could be working yourself, which I experienced. I worked myself to the point of burnout. I had a bunch of money and I didn't feel like, at some point, like using it, because I needed to, I reinvest in myself, and I took some of that money and I put it into, chiropractic and massage and learning yoga and how to eat better and sleeping better. And
Nifty
so,
Campus. Yeah.
yeah, and Nifty Campus. Yeah. Nifty
Yeah.
Campus. But,
Yeah.
and, yeah, success, ultimately just falling asleep at night, knowing that, I've made some good decisions in my life, or made bad decisions that have led to lessons that, I know I can fall asleep at night at peace.
Well, that's great.
So I feel very successful and I feel very wealthy. And I'll kind of end it with that,
Well,
I
that's
will
great.
continue to educate myself, but, yes, I do feel very wealthy.
Well, thank you for that, and
Yeah,
thank you for
thank you.
being here today. And
Yeah.
we definitely love having you in Nifty Campus, and you're a great asset to Nifty and all the other members.
Yeah.
So I look forward to seeing this grow and seeing where we're all at in 2 years, and having a cool little Bitcoin party or doing something cool. Or
Yeah, I
yeah,
really enjoy the community, and when we are all celebrating accomplishments, and also when people are posting some struggles, that, even though it is still in its, like, baby phase, that Nifty still has a very strong community, and that we're all very supportive of one another, and definitely have some great chats about, anything that, each member is curious to learn more about, or just wants to discuss, just wondering what other
yeah,
people are doing, and if certain people have certain holdings in common, and are interested in certain companies in common, and why, we're coming
hmm
from very different, walks of life, coming together on the Nifty community. So yeah,
yeah.
it's been really a really great experience for me so far.
Well, thank you, and have a great day,
Yeah,
Amanda.
yeah, thanks so much, Joel.
Okay, bye.